Hello and welcome to our lesson today, English paper 3 with teacher Nancy. And we are on our short story book, A Silent Song and Other Stories, and specifically we wish to talk about the longest story in the book, Sins of the Fathers by Charles Mungoshi from Zimbabwe. What is the story about, and what possible essay questions can we be asked about this? From the title Sins of the Fathers, it involves children, and it also involves fathers, and maybe the evil things that fathers do to their children, if we interpret it from the title. So most likely a question would be, parents play an important role in their children's upbringing, in their children's self-esteem, and if they fail to do so, then children suffer. So maybe we need to find out, how is this child suffering, or how are the children suffering in our story Sins of the Fathers, because of what their fathers did. So if you think about it that way, then you have a direction. And of course there is lack of self-esteem that children develop whenever they are not brought up in the right manner. They are not made to believe in themselves, they are not respected, and that normally affects them. Now, in our story, Sins of the Fathers, when it starts, our main character, Rondo Ruafa. Ruafa is the father to Rondo, so the man calls himself Rondo Ruafa. He's sitting opposite the father. They're talking, and we are told that he actually had a gun that was in the inside pocket of his jacket, and we are told there's a bit of foreshadowing. By the end of the day, he would shoot or not shoot his father. So there's a shooting that will happen, but we'll find out later. And the first paragraph, that is what we're introduced to. Now something is happening here. They're sitting here by the dying fire under some growing maki in the compound of Rondo, that is the father and the son. And there's a funeral. Rondo has just lost his two daughters through an accident. We have that on page 27. An accident in which they were in a vehicle with their grandfather, Basil Mzamane, sorry. And we find out where they were coming from as we proceeded our story. But it's a whole week where Rondo has been sitting outside, and he's trying to imagine what really happened during the accident. He's imagining that maybe the grandfather was singing to the children, Todini, Senzeni, that song from South Africa, from Zimbabwe by Mtukudzi, and maybe the children did not see the accident coming. And then he remembers for the past 1 week, several people have come here, and he's been sitting there for that period, only getting up when Gaston, his workmate and friend, takes him out to go and buy groceries for the mourners. So they have been sitting, he has been sitting there, and so many guests have come, and mainly they come because their father, that is Ruafa, is an ex-minister, and so they want to come and take photos with him for popularity purposes. And of course they sing those haunting songs that really bother him. Now later on, the next page, you find out that the father moves closer to him and touches him on the knee to try and console him. But this is where we find out the relationship is not good. Despite the fire and the general warmth around, Rondo felt the coldness of that hand, the father's hand, on the thick material of his jeans. It was like shards of ice had been deposited on his flesh. It was that bad. And the father's advice is also not helping. He's telling him, you'll hear people talking, they'll try to give you all sorts of advice. It is lies, don't listen to them. And later on he tells the son that nothing lives forever. You're still young, you can have other children. It's not consoling to Rondo, and Rondo does not feel comfortable about this. But there's something that Rondo asks the father. Why, father? That means there's something in connection with what happened with the father. So he's asking him why. So we don't get an explanation at this point. Now we also have Rondo thinking about how the father has treated him and how it has affected his relationship with his wife Selina. And he remembers the wife telling him that you are always in the shadow of your father. I could do better in your pants. You know, he feels his self-esteem is so much affected when the wife tells him, and he wonders if it's really true. But he also remembers at the journalistic farm, his fellow workmates, his colleagues, did not take him seriously. He felt they were always laughing at him, and that affected him again, his self-esteem. Now he gets consolation from his wife on page 29, who comes to touch him on the shoulder, and he let his head rest on her belly, his skull nudging the underside of her breast. That is a way of helping him, consoling him. The wife is concerned. He tells him, "You've not slept for a week." And we realize that Rondo relies a lot on the wife because his self-esteem is so down. He's worried about the wife's silence. At the end of page 29, she hadn't said anything at all about what had happened with the accident, and this bothered Rondo. He now seemed to have an inkling that she had always made all decisions in their marriage. So that's something that shows that his life was really affected by how he was treated by the father, and the confidence was gone. Now, the wife is very close to the mother. They were inseparable, and they knew a lot about Rondo, so he would find them talking and laughing, and so that is at least a consolation. The wife was close to the father, but the wife again always complains that she always tells him that he apologized too much. This is somebody whose esteem was affected so much that he believes he's always on the wrong. Then we have an incident on page 31, what happened when he was only 4 years old. His uncle had given him an old guitar, and Rondo was strumming away tunelessly on that instrument. And when the father found him, the reaction was shocking to a 4-year-old boy. He broke the strings of the guitar and threw the whole contraption into the fire. And he said words that the boy has never heard of. "No Mick Jaggers or John Whites in my house. They are scum, and no son of Rafa will ever join that Rolling Stone." That is the team that sings with the guitar at the railway stations. He was only a child. He was 4 years old. This really shocked him, and he remembered the fear was planted in him then, and he had even peed in his shorts. He had told Selina about it, and that shows that it's something that affected his relationship with the father. And the mother tried to explain why the father had issues with the wife that Rondo married, Selina. Selina was from Ziviti Ndembele, so the father is a bit tribalistic. He comes from Zezuru Karanga, and the two communities had had a war at one time. And according to the mother, he says that, "Mwanangu, your father is one bombed out battlefield of scars. He cannot forgive." And that's something he has held against the son, because the son found a wife from that community. And to the ignominy, to make it worse, the wife gave birth to a girl. So there's a lot of issues of gender discrimination as the first child. And since Rondo was the only son, the father wanted him to have sons to inherit his wealth, but that did not happen. So we are told at the end of page 31, Rondo's father was therefore a very disappointed man in his son. Now it got so serious that when he was growing up, Rondo became a stammerer. That is on page 31. Because of the way the father used to question him, he turned into a stammerer. That is fear. And even the mother told him that all the people, whenever their father questions them, they normally turn into stammerers. We also have instances of abuse. He's abused by the father. We have him when he wakes him up, he calls him, "Slob, wake up. Time you owned your kid." Calling your son a slob is somebody very lazy who cannot do anything on his own. And that is in ruining someone's esteem. Then he takes him to the Clarion, the city's daily paper. The father took him there, and he took him there personally. And so the workers find it funny that he was brought by the father. His colleagues laughed at him, and he felt they were always laughing at him. So this is somebody whose esteem was thoroughly affected. His friend Gaston, the journalist, tried to open up his eyes and telling him, "Do you know what your father does? There's the issue of Second Street accidents which happen to people." And he felt Gaston had tried to tell him that his father is normally responsible, but before this incident with the children, he did not really believe it. And he looked at him as a trapped animal, because he felt like this was actually his father, and how does he turn against him? So Gaston would tell him, you can't be a child forever. We also learned that the gun that Rondo had was given to him by Gaston. So he remembers the events of the day of the party, the birthday party, because that was also the day when the accident happened. And there was something about the two men there, the father and the father-in-law, who were present, and it was very uncomfortable. They belonged to two opposition parties, and Mr. Wafa does not like Basil Basmane so much. And Rondo, ironically, loves the father-in-law more than the father. It's that serious. Then we also told an incident about Rondo's wedding. The hatred from the father was so much that he even missed his own son's wedding. He left town on a state business for 2 weeks. Something that is so wrong if that is your only son. He even did not contribute to the wedding contributions, which Basil Basmane, the father to Selina, contributed a lot. Then Rondo remembers that incident at Mr. Quell's farm when they went there in his father's car, and how there was a lorry carrying young people chanting some slogans, and when they reached there, they attacked the Mrs. Quell, but the father left without anyone noticing, went to hide, and Basil Basmane came in and saved the situation. Then we also have that incident of the birthday party now, where they were telling children stories. So Rafa gathered the children to tell them a story. So when they were all sitting cross-legged, at his feet on page 39, instead of telling them a story that would be fit for children to enjoy at a birthday party, he started talking of betrayals. He talked of traditional enemies of the people since time immemorial, the enemies of state, the enemies of the clan, the looters, the cattle thieves, personal enemies. And as he talked, he was getting worked up, and he even mentioned that no son of Rafa family would ever play second fiddle to anyone's lead. So it was becoming personal, and it really ashamed Rondo as the son. He could not look at his father. It was so bad. They just started leaving, they took their children, until Rondo remained only with these two children. And that reminded him of one time when the father really embarrassed him. That mango incident on page 40. He had gone to help himself with mangoes from a neighbor's farm, and when the neighbor found him, he gave him a thorough thrashing. The mother came in lifting her clothes and pleading for the life of a child, and the man called the mother a whore, which is an abusive word. But when the father came in, he removed his elephant hide belt, and without even bothering to find out why this man was beating up the son, he proceeded to thrash Rondo thoroughly. And the mom was on her knees begging to spare the life of the child. The child was only 8 years old. So it's that bad. And that incident, he remembers it. And during that birthday party, it came back to him because he feels this man has always ashamed me. This man has never cared about me. And as they were leaving that evening, Basil Mzamane suggested that he goes with the children, the two beautiful granddaughters, to accompany him. I wanted to give them a real treat since they had not visited him for long. But we are told after that night, the father, Rondo's father, left, and the mother was asking, did anyone see my husband? And that is why we are suspecting that maybe he had a role in what happened in that accident. Now, at that funeral, as the story ends, Rondo wants to confront the father, because after all these thoughts, he realizes the father could actually be involved with the murder of his children. So he goes to confront the father inside his office, and the father still makes comments that really hurt him. When he gives him a letter, the father tells, did you ask one of your more intelligent friends to write this for you? So according to the father, he's not intelligent. And he said, I wouldn't believe you had it in you. The father is belittling him to do such. And he's laughing when Rondo produces the gun in his hand. And of course, it shows that this man looks down on the son and does not see anything that is good that could come out from the son. Huh? And Rondo even wished the father would take the gun and shoot him instead. He's so tired. He hates himself because of the way he's been treated. And even tells the father, I haven't used this gun before. After all, he wants the father to do it. And the father put the gun on the floor, reached for his jacket, took out his service pistol, and says, "You two get out of here." And when Rondo turns, he sees Selena at the doorway, who is also holding another gun. And as they step out, they hear a soft, muffled plop. But as he asks Selena tells him that the mother gave her the gun. He realizes it was so bad. The mother knew. The mother was quiet about it, but he knew the father had really mistreated the son. And if she is the one who gave out the gun to Selena, then it means she supports whatever Rondo was planning to do. So it is that bad. The level of hatred is so serious that the son feels like killing the father. So any questions to do with children lacking self-esteem because of parental resentment, parental mistreatment, can be easily answered by this story. Remember the instances we have mentioned, and you're good to go. Thank you. Let's meet again another time. Remember to like and subscribe.